Hi again. Gonna try to talk louder this time because my last video was so quiet. I know you couldn't really hear it, but this video is one I've been thinking about forever, and I really just wanted to do my favorite books. And this isn't all of them, and there's actually quite a lot. It's really hard for me to narrow it down because I love reading. I've been a big reader my entire life. But hopefully this will give you an idea of the kind of books I like to read. I'm hoping maybe in the future to do book reviews, I don't know, things like that. I haven't really decided yet, but I just wanted to give you an overview and maybe give you an idea of some of the things that you could try out if you haven't. I think I have a good variety. None of them are nonfiction, really. I mean, one is kind of, but anyway, I'm just going to get into it. And I'll start with some of the older books. I will work up to the more modern ones. The first one is relatively uncommon. I haven't heard of a lot of people that know of this one, and it's called Green Mansions. It's by W.H. Hudson. Sorry for the glare. And this is a wonderful book. It was written in, I believe, the early 20th century, 1904. And it's a haunting story. I think I first read this when I was in the 7th grade, maybe, or the 6th grade, and I cried whenever I read it. It's about a girl who lives in the jungle. It's hard to explain, but I would highly recommend it. It's really lush. The writing's great. And you'll notice in the books that I choose, I'm either really character-driven or really language-driven. Plot, of course, is important, but I fall in love with characters and I fall in love with writing style above anything else. So that's that. The next is Persuasion by Jane Austen, and I know a lot of people love this one. I love Jane Austen, and this is by far my favorite of the Jane Austen novels. I have several copies of it. This is a great copy. Just a quick note, this is what the back looks like. And the inside has a drawing of Jane Austen. This was done by Audrey Niffenegger, and most people probably know her because she wrote The Time Traveler's Wife, but she also illustrated this cover, and it's gorgeous. And as soon as I heard that she was doing this, I knew I had to track it down. So Persuasion's great. It's, you know, I think when people read books, and I know that I do this, you're always looking for a piece of yourself in the book. And for me, at least at this point in my life, I can relate to Anne Elliot a lot. And it's interesting, when you reread things years later, you pick up different things. And I've tried to, in the last several years, probably the last 6 years or so, when I read a book, to write down passages that, you know, stick with me for some reason or intrigue me. And then it's funny because I'll go back and read the same book a couple years later and I'll write down totally different ones, and it's just very interesting to see. Okay, next book. This one I found at random, and this is by Persephone. It's published by Persephone Classics, which this is the only one I've come across in a store, but they have a whole range of unknown authors, so to speak. This one is by Dorothy Whipple, and it's called Someone at a Distance, and it takes place in the 40s, I believe, in England, and it's more about the writing, and I think it captures the essence of the times really well. Of course I can't say, but for a certain kind of woman, just I don't know, it's kind of I don't know how to explain it, and I'm really bad at that, so hopefully I can improve. That's one of the goals here, but I would highly recommend this. I need to track down more by Dorothy Whipple, but unfortunately I will have to order online because that's the only place I've ever seen any of her works, aside from the one time I saw it in a store. Okay, the next one I have is by Kate Chopin, and it's The Awakening. It's fairly short. I've read this one and it's pretty beat up, but this was published in 1899, and it's gorgeous. And it says on the back that it's a brief novel it so disturbed critics and the public that it was banished for decades after it was published. So it's one of those kind of controversial ones, but it's really amazing, and again, something that you can relate to if you're a woman that feels stuck in any sense. This captures that. even if it's not the same situation, there's things that you can relate to in it. It doesn't have to be in a romantic sense or anything like that, but you can imagine the turn of the century. Women didn't have the same kind of lives they have now, so I don't know. This translates really well through time, I think, and I guess that's the best thing, and I think that's the utmost, or not the utmost, but a quality of an everlasting or a great novel for me, the fact that it's timeless, and it can, no matter what time you're reading it in, how old it is, it rings true. Okay, these are 19th century going into early 20th century, but this one is one of my very favorites. It's by Gustave Flaubert, Madame Bovary, and Emma Bovary is despicable in so many ways, but I love her, and this is another one of those ones where I relate more to her character depending on the situation or certain aspects of her character. So this one was really interesting for me to go and reread, because when I first read this when I was in high school, I had a completely different perspective, and it changed. I think I last read this probably 2 years ago, and yeah, things definitely changed in that amount of time. So that's the other great thing about reading, is that you discover so much about yourself in the process, and it really is, you know, it's a narcissistic act almost, that, like I said, you're trying to identify with the people you're reading about, and looking for bits of yourself in it. At least I know I do that. I don't think I'm the only one. The next one, another kind of like controversial character, maybe not the most likable, but Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, and another one that I've read many times and love. Breaks my heart again. Heathcliff, despicable, violent, but human, which is the mark of a good book. People aren't one way or the other, you know, we're all a mix of good and bad, and I just like to see that kind of truth in a novel, and just the circumstances under which all of the Brontes wrote is amazing. This was Emily Bronte's only novel, and it's close to perfect, I think. Another one with a character that breaks your heart because she does things that you think, oh my god, why are you doing this? Edith Wharton, and I basically love anything by Edith Wharton, but The House of Mirth is one of my very favorites. Lily Bart is the character. You just need to read it because it's a great novel, and it will break your heart. Lily Bart will break your heart. And I'm rhyming without meaning to. Sorry I'm going fast, and I'm not really giving a synopsis or explaining well. I just kind of wanted to show more than anything else. The next one is another of my favorite authors. I could read anything by him, and it will please me, just because I love the way he writes, or the way he wrote, rather. There's a clarity to his language that is missing in a lot of writers, at least for me, and that's D.H. Lawrence. He's most famous for Lady Chatterley's Lover, which is another wonderful novel and another very controversial one that was banned for a long time. But this is The Virgin and the Gipsy. It was unfinished. It was published posthumously, and we don't know how he intended to finish it. And every time I read it, I think something different about it. It's great. It's a great novel. Novella, really.